Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here. Today, I've got a little bit of a longer painted review, and basically I will be putting timestamps down in the description below, so if you want to skip to different areas of the world, you can definitely do that, but basically we're going to be going into the neutrals that I use for not only my Global 36 game, but my 1914 game. These are kind of like just everything in one big painted neutral box, so I didn't have to go through and paint two sets of neutrals for every single nation for 2 games. So yeah, this is my box, like my other Global 36 boxes. Nice plastic fishing box. We've got the neutral setup cards and the, the Netherlands. If you want to play as the Netherlands, you've got this in here. I just decided to throw in their nation because most of the time they're just as neutrals, but sometimes you may want to play with them. So yeah, we're gonna get this box out of the way and just kind of one by one go through the different nations that I've painted up. So first up, we're gonna go with what's first in the box, and that is South America. So that starts with Argentina for me. Here we've got the Argentine militia, pretty average, and the Argentine infantry. These are some World War I Ottoman infantry. This was before I got a lot of like 172 pieces, so I just wanted a different looking pose, and it looked like the kind of uniforms that they would wear. The Argentines and Chileans had very similar to Germany uniforms, and I do have a few of them, so that especially if I'm playing with the South America at War expansion, I can actually have a decent amount of Argentine stock to use. Here we have a Argentine battleship. I was going to get the Rivadera class battleship from Historical Board Gaming. I decided against it just because save some money. So here we've just got a Warspite class, or Queen Elizabeth class, painted in Argentine naval colors. Next up, we have the Argentinian coastal defense ship. This is a Japanese pre-dreadnought, I'm pretty sure, but it looks a lot like some of the river-going monitors and coastal defense craft that the Argentinians used during World War II. Torpedo boat destroyer. I'm not going to go too much into the actual sculpts of these pieces, especially when there's reoccurring ones. Like the torpedo boat destroyer, you'll see a lot. I don't need to cover it every single time it comes by. And this is just an Argentinian destroyer. I didn't actually paint that one yet, but I don't really know why I threw it in there anyways. Here we have the Argentine medium armor. I included this because in the South America at War expansion, there's a armaments buildup, a random event that can happen where the ABC nations, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, can basically, they have $6 to militarize, and so Germany, which is the one that usually is the one building up for Argentina, can decide to build medium armor. So I decided to just go with a Panther, and surprisingly, I kind of want to look for some or try to design a 3D piece, because Argentina was one of the only South American nations to actually locally produce and field their own tanks. So I'd like to have a few of those just to kind of show them off during my games. And I think here we've got just a cavalry, risk cavalry. And then finally, we have got an Argentine fighter. And this is in the starting setup, so yeah, nice little blue fighter. I definitely like the Argentine colors in general. The light blue and gray kind of just goes together fairly well. So next up, we've got Brazil. So Brazil's another one like Argentina, another strong South American power. Here we've got a Brazilian infantry, really nice. I went through and repainted a lot of my neutrals with these 172 pieces. So yeah, here we've got a nice Brazilian infantry, and you might notice that all of my World War II, all my neutrals, basically I've, with the infantry, decided to go for a I paint the roundels on the bases. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, and you can see with my normal armies that I don't do that. But for neutrals, one, there's only so many colors, so at some point it's going to start looking like the roundel bases of my other major powers. And it just kind of, I like the look of it, you know. There's lots of nice little neutral roundels here and there. Here we've got the Brazilian coastal defense ship. This is a Axis and Allies 1914 piece. A Brazilian pre-dreadnought. This is for the my 1914 game. A nice looking pre-dreadnought. It's actually, this is a, I forget the actual class, but it's an Ottoman ironclad. Brazilian destroyer. Let's get a better look at that. There we go. And yeah, some of these forces have some little camouflage schemes just to make them look a bit better. Because the good thing about another destroyer, actually that's a Colombian destroyer. I'm gonna have to switch that around. Torpedo boat destroyer. And yeah, the good thing about the neutrals is that because you're not painting tons of them, you're just going like here and there, painting little few units that they might either have set up or might come to their setup. So you can spend a little more time giving them like some camouflage or nicer looking pieces, especially because they're going to sit on the map, so you might as well make them look nice. Lastly, for Brazil, we've just got their fighter, which they also start the game with. Next up in the ABC nations, we've got Chile. First, the Chilean, cruiser. This is from my World War I game. Got the nice little Chilean roundel there, and cool camouflage scheme. A Chilean coastal defense ship. Chile's definitely got the weaker the weaker army out of all of the ABC nations, especially when it comes to land forces. But, you know, they are in my World War I game, they are pro-German. So if Germany can get to them, they'll have a nice punch against the Allies in the Pacific. Here we got the Chilean infantry. Like I was saying with Argentina, Chile had a very German-inspired army and uniforms and everything. There's a militia. And we've just got roundels. All these roundels are made by me, all custom. But we got the Chilean coastal submarine and the artillery. Alright, so that concludes the larger South American nations. Next up, we are getting into the more central South American nations. So, first up, we have Central America, or Latin America. Now, these guys are in Global War, they're not too much, and so basically, since I used the same World War I style of neutrals, where you've got, so say like Central America has, or Latin America, sorry for that, has an infantry, you know, it's worth 1 IPC, so it gets an infantry and an artillery. And a lot of these neutral artillery, I just decided to go with this brisk artillery piece, especially because in 1914, a lot of nations actually had, especially in South America, actually, had a lot of black powder cannons still, which is pretty surprising. Alright, we got Cuba. Cuba is not usually that powerful, but in 1914, you know, they're going to get the standard infantry and artillery piece. Plus, in the South America at War expansion, they get themselves a fighter. And this is a custom edition, I decided to give them a coastal defense ship to represent their decent little navy that they had. It makes them definitely, when you consider in the 1936 game that you could pick up that plus an IPC, like, it's definitely a good option to try to get Cuba. Alright, next up we've got the Peruvians. I really like the Peruvians ever since I updated them for my 1936 games. So first off, we got the Peruvian Air Force, which was very powerful. And so here is the Peruvian transport plane. Again, this is a custom setup that I used for Peru. So yeah, we've got the Peruvian transport plane. Peru was one of the major users of paratroopers during the 1930s, and they used them to great efficiency during the Peruvian equatorial conflict. Here we've got a artillery piece. And a Peruvian fighter plane. I still have yet to magnetize these, but yeah, they really look nice. I like the camouflage, or the white with the red. Peru does have a minor navy in the form of a torpedo boat destroyer. And for infantry, we got a Peruvian infantry, nice little ground forces unit. Lots of nice details. This is a 172 Indian infantry, and I just cut down their hats. Here's a Peruvian airborne commando, ready to board that airborne transport and take over Ecuador, or try. Got the nice red beret. He's throwing a grenade. All this equipment on the back. So yeah, that's Peru. Really like those guys. Another nice nation to pick up if you're trying to reinforce your South American nations. Next up, we've got Venezuela. I'm right there so you can see it. We've just got the Venezuelan infantry piece, or militia. And infantry. Alright, and artillery right here. Move those in so you can just see them all. Alright, and then we have got the same roundel, but I know that Ecuador had a slightly different roundel than Venezuela, but this is supposed to be Peru, or Ecuador, and we've got an Equatorian infantry. Very nice looking infantry piece. I think this is a World War I German that I just cut his spike off his helmet. And a Equatorian artillery piece for World War I. Alright, next up we've got, ooh, I like these guys, the Uruguay and Paraguay. So first up, I'm pretty sure this is Uruguay, right? Yeah, let's go with it. So, oh wait, yeah, okay, yeah, let's go with it being Uruguay. Yeah, so here we have the infantry, and actually, now that I think of it, this might be Paraguay. I don't know. Sorry, you can fact check me on the roundel I have, but I've got a really old-fashioned looking infantry piece, but they had some nice looking honor guard uniforms that I just decided to go with, just to make them a little more special looking. And got their artillery right here. And for Paraguay, nothing too special, kind of different roundel, and a kind of strange green and army gray uniform. Got their colorful roundel and their artillery. Next up, we have the who are these guys? The Bolivians and the Colombians. So here we've got Colombia, and for Colombia we have the Colombian Navy, which is a destroyer or a torpedo boat destroyer. So you've got this nice liver, nice little color splotches all over the place. From what I could find is just they kind of just, gray ships, slap some paint on the sides of it just to give it away that it's the Colombians. And then we got a Colombian militia. And Bolivia, which makes up the last of the land powers of South America. So Bolivian militia, and Bolivia gets a cavalry. And of course, we just got some artillery for each of these powers. Put those in place. Alright, so we're just going to rearrange some of this stuff. We're almost to the end of South America. So we've got Mexico. Now, this Mexico is only for my World War II game, because Mexico, as you may know from my World War I game, is its own power. So for 1936, these are just my Mexican infantry. We've got the Mexican Navy, light cruiser, so a decent tiny navy. It's not a torpedo boat destroyer, so that's a plus for if America wants to align them. They've got themselves a cavalry and a fighter. It's a nice looking little fighter, I gotta say. The camouflage scheme came out well. So yeah. Let's see here. That ends the continental South American nations. And lastly, we've got just two Caribbean nations. These are from my World War I game. We've got the Dominican Republic, or this is a Haiti. So you can see we've got a Haitian soldier right there. And the roundel, tried my best. It's got a complicated little design in the middle, so I just went with some splotches. So yeah. And the artillery. Again, for World War I, from the pictures I saw during the American intervention in Haiti, they were using a lot of black powder equipment. So here we got the nice little old-fashioned cannon, which suits the outdated uniform too. And lastly, we got the Dominican Republic. So here we've got a Dominican infantryman with the cool little red, and you can't really see him too well in this guy, but we got the red and blue checkerboard flag on his base. Put this guy over here, along with artillery piece. And I just decided, because why not, to throw in a light tank. This was mainly just foresight. If I ever got the 1965 game, I could throw a light tank onto the Dominican Republic just because they had some. This is a Spanish World War II or interwar light tank, so yeah. But yeah, that ends my look at South America. And when I think about it, I'm probably going to stop this video now, and we'll make a part 2 coming out maybe by the end of this week or next week, just because, no one wants to sit through an hour long of painted reviews. So yeah, here's the South American nations that I play with in my World War I and 1936 games, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you again for Europe. Cobra, out.